everybody. This is episode 3 of our podcast. We, honestly, like, we still haven't even really decided what the hell we're even going to call this thing yet. So if people are watching this after the fact, like, what is this? It's
If we haven't
January.
named it yet, let us know.
Yeah, yeah. I would say if you have a good name that we like, you can be our guest on the show.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to think of a good name, and nothing comes to mind for this. People have said like the Justin and Pansy show, and I'm like, really?
No,
Uh,
not
oh, that was
people, not
that was
people.
that was
I
actually
said.
you. That was right. That's right. You actually said that. But yeah, well, you know what though? You're not the first person to say that. Uh,
No.
no,
Okay.
you're not the first
Okay.
person to say that. So,
I
but
think
you
we'll
did
have
say,
to, yeah, hop on JJ's Zoom,
yeah, and
because
just ask everybody. Yeah,
it's
ask
a
everybody.
spin-off, right?
Yeah,
Technically,
yeah, ask
we met
everybody there.
there, and so it continued over.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
we'll have to figure out a good name.
Anyway, so we're still trying to figure that out. But I think this is a good example of like, I think this is a great example of what business actually is. You just freaking do it and worry about all that little, minutia crap later as you go along. So, as you're watching and I'm telling you that we don't have a name yet for our podcast, some people are like, wow, you guys haven't even thought about a name. Like, who cares? Right? Like, just do, if you want to do a podcast, if you want to do a freaking anything, just start doing it. And like all that stuff is going to eventually come to you, right? As long as you're doing it. So this is our third episode. Like, what is it? It's January 11th, people. And I haven't even freaking uploaded our other two uh podcasts that we've done yet. So I'm still editing them. Like we're doing Pansy and I are doing everything right now, right? Just to give you an idea. So for new entrepreneurs and all of that, like this is what it looks like. You're freaking doing everything. And until you get the right people in place, right?
Because it's the who, not how, right?
It's the Who Not How, yeah, which is again a really good book. If you haven't read Who Not How, go read Who Not How. Um, I don't even know how long this podcast is going to be today. Like who and you know what? It's kind of nice just like, you know, freaking
Just
not
taking it.
caring
Yeah.
about it. So, anyways, Pansy and I thought about what we were going to talk about today, and I mean, we can talk about anything, but one of the topics I was thinking we could talk about is, when you're trying to start a business, um, like what the F do you do when shit goes kind of sideways, and not necessarily, it doesn't even have to go sideways, but like when the world starts throwing you curveballs, let's say, like how do you deal with it? Um, right now I'm in the middle of a move. Pansy is figuring out what she's going to do with her home. She wants, there's a lot of things. She wants to keep it, rent it. She's going through some other, family stuff too, but it's just like, man, what do you do? And by the way, I'm going through family stuff. Like, I feel like the family stuff and like the, life, family, life/family stuff, it's always going to be there. There's something's always going to be there, no matter what, even after you're freaking wealthy, that shit's gonna be there. But guess what? When you're wealthy, you can pay other people to deal with it for you. No, I'm kidding. So you can
Kidding though, you're not.
no,
You're
no, no,
not kidding though. Because I mean, think about it. Like, you know, you pay people for their expertise.
well,
And
that right. So right.
depending on what it is, you do have to call somebody in. And
Yeah.
it's much easier, or not even, it's not even about the ease of things.
Hmm.
How can we get this done
Hmm.
where I'm not the one trying to fix this or whatever,
Hmm.
with what little bit of extra time I have in between,
Hmm.
you know? So,
Yeah.
I mean, family is always going to be there. There's always going to be something.
Right.
So you just have to keep going. I
Right.
mean, I could tell you several things that have happened since I started this real estate entrepreneur journey. Like, talk about throwing things in. I mean, I've had a lot thrown at me, a
Yeah,
lot.
you have had
And
a lot thrown at
and
you.
you only know a tiny portion of it. I don't even tell people because it's like I'm not trying to be there. Like
Right.
I already did that. I've got past it. I'm on the other side now. I like I told you, I'm in my EAC
Yeah.
majority of the time,
For
like
those of you who don't know, that's the East Australian current she's talking about from the movie what is it?
little Nemo,
What's that?
little Nemo.
Yeah, Little Nemo, that's right. He's flowing in the East Australian current. Like the turtles.
Yeah.
Okay,
I'm just
so
writing it,
which I think is a great reference by the way. But yeah, how do you find that flow state though? Like how do you so being a business owner means being a problem solver. We hear that all the time. Like if you get a mentor, if you join a mentorship or you start learning from people who are already where you're at, you're going to hear that more than once. Like it's about solving your problems and being resourceful, but it's also about solving big problems. It's the size of the problem that you're solving and the value of the solution. Those are the two things. So, how big is the problem that you're solving, and what's the value of your solution? That's going to determine how much money you make in your business. But in your personal life, when stuff goes sideways, you still have to think about that for your business, but you also now have to think about being solving problems and being resourceful so when you start building wealth, you start building your coffers, let's say, like you now have more resources available to you to help you solve those problems. One of our mentors, Pace Morby, always talks about if you can solve the problem with money, it's not really a problem, right? And I agree, I totally agree with that. If you can solve the problem with some money, and take care of it. It's not really a problem. Real problems are things like, big health scares or someone in your family passing away or divorces or, your favorite animal getting lost or dying, right? Like these are just examples of like crap that not crap, but stuff, problems that happen in your life and like stuff you have to deal with. So for me, I honestly try and compartmentalize and just what's the biggest problem I'm facing right now and what do I need to do to solve it? And that's what I think about. All the other small problems that are happening, like they're going to always kind of be there. So let's not get all hung up on all this crap over here. Like what's the big problem you're facing right now and how are you going to solve it? So like the big problem I'm facing right now is having to pick up all of my shit and move it somewhere else, which is like one of my most hated activities. I don't like the word hate, but I really hate moving. I
stop it.
strongly, I
Stop it.
strongly dislike moving. I
But
think,
you get to move. Look,
yeah, yeah, yeah,
we've
yeah.
had this
No, you're right.
conversation.
Yeah.
You get to move. You get to start kind of new, right?
Yeah.
Um,
How
the
how fortunate am I, right? Like how fortunate am I that I even get to go move to a new place? How fortunate am I that I'm not living on the streets or something else horrible, right? Any number of, how lucky am I that I get to live where I live?
not luck. Not luck.
Well, I mean, some of it's kind of luck, but
No, it's not luck.
okay.
There's no
Well,
luck.
I
There's no
mean,
luck.
yeah, I look, we all work
We
hard for,
all have our own thing, but I'm saying it's not luck.
yeah.
It's not luck.
Yeah. I mean, there's in my the way I think about it, it's like, my family ended up here. And so I have roots here. And the fact that they were here and I didn't grow up in like Nigeria or something, that's kind of luck of the draw, right? Because you could have been born anywhere, right? But maybe not. Maybe it's not like maybe it is on maybe there is a grand design to all of it. But for the purposes of this podcast, uh
The grad.
let me ask you this, Pansy. Like what when you're facing like a big problem. Because we're all like, it's not about the money you make, it's about the person you become in order to become a millionaire, right? That's the person you become. So in becoming that person, what do you do when you're facing like big issues in your life? And at the same time trying to operate a business, right? Or start a business.
So something that I've always kind of been able to do throughout my life, because trust me, there is always something, right?
Mhm.
Because um yeah, without going too into detail, let's just say I started my life like taking care of myself at a very young age, right? Um, and I don't regret it. Like I'm not mad about it, nothing. Like I actually, that's what I wanted. Like more than anything, that's what I wanted. So with that being said, like how did it depends on what it was. Um, I'm not even gonna lie, I flipped out,
Yeah,
got angry,
yeah,
had my little hissy fit, whatever. But anytime I had a responsibility that I took on, because we choose our responsibilities, we choose to do things, I was always kind of able to separate things for the most part. So if I went to work, I really tried to leave any home life or anything beyond going to work. I'm at work now. That's my concentration, right? Like I said I would show up, I would do this part of the job. So that's where my concentration is right now. Right now, I'm going to be the best employee, whatever, in that position. I'm not going to worry about my kids. I'm not going to worry about this, whatever. In fact, at one of my jobs, my mom used to try to bother me.
Mhm.
Um, and I told them, I said, unless she calls me and calls and says anybody's dead or in the emergency room, I'm not taking the call. I'm at work, right?
Right,
She's an adult. She knows how to take care of things.
right,
Um, but I've always been able to do that. Not everybody could do that, right? And then when I came home, I tried to leave work at home, right?
right,
Like that, I'm no longer there. That's there. I'm here now. Now I'm at home. Now,
right.
what things do I have going on at home? And that's just kind of how I do it. So I'm at, whatever, however you want to look at it, but I'm doing the business from home, right? And right now, there's a lot of things going on. It's not so much turmoil right now because I'm on the other side of the hissy fit and pissed off and the sad and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Like I had my breakdown and I got over it. I'm like, what is a breakdown staying there gonna do for me, right?
Yeah.
And
And
obviously,
how's it gonna actually help you, right?
yeah.
Like,
So now what's the solution?
right,
What's the solution to all of this? What
right.
is going to be the best route? How can I get this done? Who do I need to get this done if I can't do it my damn self, right? So, like, yeah, just everybody could have their moments of freak out, but bring yourself back in and concentrate on that one particular task and try not to think about those other things while you're concentrating on that task.
Right. I 100% agree with that. And again, for me, that's why I'm saying like compartmentalizing and tackling things kind of one thing at a time, right? Not trying to focus on all of the shit at once. That's a big one for me. I do that all the time. And I think our brains do that also. Is your brain does this thing like when something happens to you or something, some problem you're dealing with, some struggle in your life starts happening, your brain does this thing where it's like it's always going to be this way, it's always going to be this way. That's what your brain does, and it's a total lie. We know it's a lie. We know it's not always going to be that way. Just like with good stuff, good, all good things must come to an end. Well, guess what? It's the same way with bad stuff too. All bad things must come to an end as well. Sometimes it feels like the bad stuff lasts longer because it's more painful.
But maybe we're looking at it the wrong way. Is it good or bad?
Right. Like maybe
Like
that's right.
it's not necessarily good or bad. This is just something that has to happen
Right.
in order to come out on the other side
Right.
with different knowledge,
Right.
something that's going to help you improve.
Yeah.
and you apply it somewhere else.
Yeah. So and that's actually one of the things is like, how do you know the difficult thing that you're going through is not actually for your benefit, right?
It's all for your benefit.
Well, it's all happening for you, right? It's not happening to you, it's happening for you. But how do you know that this thing that seems awful? Because yeah, it's easy to say like it all happens for you, but when you're in it and it's happening to you and you're having to deal with it, it feels fucking pretty awful, right? And
Yeah.
you want to
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
you want to
Trust
ask
me.
the universe, right? Like why?
Like I said, when I went through my shit, I hate this camera. I need to get a different camera. Um, when I went through all my stuff, I mean, I'm telling you, I was in a really freaking bad place. I mean, and there was nobody. Like, I lived with people, they didn't care. I won't say that they didn't care.
Yeah,
Okay. I'm
yeah,
sure they cared. Maybe they just didn't know or understand. Okay. Because we don't always know and understand what somebody else is going through or what they need, right?
yeah, yeah.
But essentially, I felt I had to do it all by myself.
Yeah, which is like, you don't have to do it all by yourself. That's the other trap
But I
that
did. I really did.
yeah,
Sometimes you have to. Like,
sometimes you have to. Yeah, but you should really like you should really look into that. If you feel like you're having to do something and there's no other way to do it but except you just have to do it. So there are those situations, but I'm very collaborative. That's me by nature. Um,
well, see, I didn't know you and I didn't know the rest of the
right, right,
community.
right, right. No,
Like,
and
but that's,
yeah,
my thing that I went through is essentially what brought me to where
right,
I'm at now. So
right.
I had to go through
You
that.
had to go through it. Yeah.
I wouldn't wish that upon anyone, honestly,
Yeah.
but I had to go through that.
You know
Like,
what's funny is like literally every successful person I've ever talked to has a story like that. That's what's I mean, literally everyone I've ever talked. Like if you go listen to, I forget the guy's name. There's a guy on YouTube, and his whole YouTube channel is him going and interviewing like on the street. He'll just walk up to billionaires, millionaires on the street and start asking them questions like, "Hey, do you have an advice for people who are trying to start their own business? Hey, what would you tell your younger self?" Like he has those kind of questions, right? And literally every single billionaire, millionaire, whatever that he's interviewed, he has the same question. Have you ever been broke? What do you think all of their answers
oh,
are?
everyone,
Every single
I
freaking
mean,
one of them has
unless
been
you're
broke.
born with money,
Right,
you know
right,
what I'm saying? But I
right.
mean, everybody thinks that everyone that has any type of money or wealth or business, big
Just fell
business,
into it, right? They got
like,
given it.
yeah,
Yeah,
they were born with a silver spoon in their
yeah,
mouth.
yeah.
And
They got
like,
some leg up. They got some leg up. Society gave them a leg up. Their family or their parents gave them a leg up.
I'm sure that happens. I'm
I'm,
sure that happens to some people, but
yeah,
your
but it's the wrong way of
average
thinking
business
about it.
owner, that's not how it happened.
Yeah,
There was a lot of freaking late nights, no sleep, maybe not getting to spend time with your family, friends, whatever it was.
right.
Yeah,
But it's the wrong way of thinking about it, though, is the point, right? It's completely the wrong way of thinking about it. If you're thinking like that, like stop right now. You need to kind of relook at your decision making because that you're not going to get anywhere with with that attitude. Yes, does that stuff happen? Sure, but has that kept you down in some way? Probably not. What's kept you down or has kept you broke is the
habits,
decisions. And that's the truth. That's the same thing for all of us. The decisions that we've made in our life have led us to a point, and now we either have to change our decision making behavior and the way we think about money and all of that, or we're going to stay in the same spot. So but I think you're right. I mean, we have to handle stuff sometimes ourselves, and there's not always going to be someone there to collaborate with or to help you solve your problems. Sometimes you got to solve your problems, right? But the fact it should give you some level of inspiration to know that some of the most successful people on the planet right now, just about every single one of them was broke at some point. The question is, like, I think a better question is not where you've ever broke, is what did you do when you were broke? How did
Right.
you get yourself out of being broke, right? And and it really comes down to that all comes down to mindset. It comes down to mindset and your work ethic and all of those things. And I think honestly we probably instinctually know that, at least some of us probably do. Like, yeah, if you're broke, you need to do something different, obviously, right? You need to do something different. But it's not always clear what that is. I know for a long freaking time, I had no clue what I wanted to do. I had no clue what I was going to do to change my situation. And but instead of getting down on myself about it, I started really taking an introspective look at myself, right? And being like what? Not what do you like to do, what are you passionate about, but like what do you absolutely hate doing and know that you don't want to do. So that's kind of I reversed engineered it from there, right? Of what I was going to eventually do, right? And I chose to get myself out of the situation I was in. I chose to go down the technology route because I was interested in it. It wasn't my passion, but I was interested in it. And that helped me out of that situation. But it took a while and it took working, right? It took working, it took some, I had to take some blows, right? Let's just say it like that. I had to take some lumps to get out of the situation I was in. And but you know what? It is all for my benefit. Just like what you're going through, Pansy, is all for your benefit ultimately as well. So, um,
I believe that.
yeah. Okay. So if you're watching this, you notice a little like stop and then start. I actually paused the podcast for a second so we could so I could find some stuff that I had written down that was I think pertinent to this conversation about like how do you deal with problems, how do you run a business, wear all the hats and deal with the problems that show up in your life while you're doing all of that. And there's no easy answer. You got to do it. You got to put your head down and decide that you're going to do it. And something I don't know how you feel about this, Pansy, but I feel like in a lot of people's cases, something has to happen. There has to be some kind of like switch that goes off in your brain where you eventually just say, you know what, like I am done living like this. I'm going to just start handling my business. Like, I don't know. That's what it took for me. It was just like, I'm tired of being in this shitty situation. And
Yeah.
I've got all this like huge list of problems that I got to deal with. So
Yeah.
let's go. Let's start tackling the problems. Let's look at the biggest problem you have the biggest problem that you have right now that you can that needs to be solved right away, right? So that's what you start with the problems that need to be solved right away, right? Get those done. Forget about all the other stuff. Get those done first. And then after that, what are the most important problems after that that are probably going to take some time to deal with? Look at those and see what you got to do for each one of those, right? Um, there was a really good, so I learned a technique a while ago, and it's just called it's like brain mapping, if you will, or just brain dumping, right? Is what it's called. So you literally get a piece of paper out, and this is what you do. You literally write down everything that's on your mind, every single problem, issue that's going on in your business, personal, family. So you create sections, right? So your first list of problems is work. Your second list is family. Your list after that is like just personal stuff. But before you do any of that, you literally just get a blank piece of paper and you write down everything that you can think of. Literally just brain vomit onto the piece of paper all of your problems. right? Doesn't matter what
Easier
order.
said than done.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it doesn't matter what. Yeah, it doesn't matter what order. None of that. Just everything you can think of.
I don't
Once
know if
you,
I would call them problems. I don't know. Like,
yeah, and
I
that's
try not to look at anything like a problem anymore. Like,
interesting. Like,
more of it's just a task or an obstacle, I
yeah,
suppose.
that's a good way to look at it. Yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah.
I mean, for the most part, I'm not saying I haven't thought of things differently, but when I am in the right state of mind, thinking about anything that I have to overcome,
Mhm.
I would always think of it as like um, like a race and you're jumping hurdles. Okay.
Right.
So you're running, right? And you got to jump these hurdles. Sometimes they're small, sometimes they're big.
Yeah,
Sometimes you're going to trip over them, right? And fall. But
right.
then you get back up and you keep running the race, right? And sometimes you even have to go under a hurdle, you know? Like, there's a lot in like some of the childhood things that really, if you think about it, like can keep you going. I think of, um, the book about the train and it says, I think I can.
Yeah,
And
the
it's,
little engine that could.
I mean, with 5 kids, and taking care of kids since I was young anyway, a lot of the children's stuff sticks in my head,
Yeah.
you know.
That's a great book, by the way. The little engine that could.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Hmm.
So it's like, or even going back to Little Nemo and what's Dory, just keep swimming.
Hmm. Yeah, just keep swimming. Yeah.
Yeah.
But you don't want to be swimming aimlessly, right?
No,
You need to have
no.
a direction. Like even Dory, like she knew where she wanted to get to, right? She knew
Yeah.
where she wanted to end up. So so write down literally everything. I don't care if it's like a huge thing that maybe isn't necessarily a problem. It's just whatever. Any tasks, problems, whatever it is, write it all down on a piece of paper. Because what you're doing is you're getting it out of your memory. You're not holding on to it in your brain. You're putting it on a piece of paper. It becomes real now. And then once you have it on, and that list might be long, it might be short, it doesn't matter. Once you have that list, then you start looking at each one in the list and marking them off of those. You either put a W for work if it's a work type of problem, you put a F for family if it's a family type of problem, you put a P for personal if it's a personal type of problem, right? Or an O for other if it's kind of an other category, right? It doesn't fall into any of those categories, and you literally organize all of your problems or you know tasks that you need to complete into those categories, right? Once they're in those categories, now you label them 1, 2, 3, 4. You label them in order of importance. You want to take care of the most important that can be completed, that need to be completed right now, right? That you have no more time to wait. You put those at the top of the list in each category, right? And that has helped me so much just to organize like my thoughts and the problems and all the things. Because then I'm not committing all that crap to memory, right? It's like now it's on paper and I can deal with it, you know? Um, so yeah, what do you think about that? I'm curious your thoughts on that.
I believe it works for people.
And you don't write down anything
Sometimes.
sometime? Okay.
Yeah. I don't know.
So,
Just know that I have things to do. So I just either do them or I don't.
yeah, yeah. Well, that's the goal, right? Is to get where you get where you're as something comes up, you just take care of it, right? You don't have a big gigantic list of things. Like you've taken care of most things, and as new problems come up, you just kind of deal with them, right? You don't necessarily need to have a list, but I would say in business there's going to be so much crap getting thrown at us. There's going to be a lot of things to take care of, especially in the beginning, right? So um So I'm curious how you deal, like you want to get you want to get like a personal assistant, right? So, but how are you going to do it without a personal assistant is my question, right? If we have to wear all the hats, like,
I've been doing it, but
have
I don't
you?
want
Yeah.
to.
Yeah.
I do need someone to help me.
Organize your emails, for example.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it.
That's just one thing.
Yeah, yeah,
So I don't know. Yeah. I guess my biggest thing is just keeping in contact with people once I've gotten their information, you know.
yeah. Okay.
I didn't.
Well, so I'll end it. I think we'll end the podcast with this. I have a couple of inspirational things for people. So Simon Sinek, if you don't know who he is, he has a lot of good content out there about business, capitalism, all of these things, right? But he's got a lot of good principles that you can go listen to and follow. But one of the stories that he brought up was the shoe salesman um, that was helping a woman find shoes, right? So the story goes, the shoe salesman, woman enters the shoe store, and the woman asks, like, okay, I want to see that pair of shoes. So he brings her those pairs of shoes. She tries those on. Then she says, okay, I want to see those other pairs of shoes. So he brings her those other pair of shoes. She tries those on. She's not sure. Then she asks him for a third pair of shoes, and the salesman says, okay, I'll go bring you that third pair of shoes. What pair do you want me to take away? Right? Because the salesperson figured out that when people have too much choice, they don't buy anything. When there's only a couple of things, they actually make a decision. So think of your own situation like that. You want to try and focus, remove all the cruft, like all the chaff, and focus on one thing, one or two things, right? That you need to take care of, right? That's the way I kind of look at this. It's like if you have so much choice and so many things that you're looking at all at once, you're never going to do anything. That's how it works with me. I know that about myself. If I'm focused on too many things at once, I'm not going to get anything done. I'll literally just kind of freeze up, like, right? And maybe I'll do some busy work or something, right? So when people have too much choice, they usually don't make a decision. So just remember that little lesson. And something that I heard a while ago, and I really like this one, is something that we've never been told really is that the long way is the shortcut because the shortcut never really gets you there. Right. So if you're looking for the shortcut in business, if you're looking for the get rich quick or the shortcut or the way to not have to do any work or whatever, it's not going to get you there. Everybody's looking for the shortcut, but the truth is that the long way is the shortcut because the amount of work you have to do and everything else, like if you just did it, you'd probably already be there, right? So those are a couple of things that I heard that were maybe inspire is not the right word, but thought provoking, right? So, any thoughts, Pansy?
I don't know.
Right. Well, I feel like I've done um some of the stuff I need to get done. So, um, but look, we're here. Our vision is to obviously build wealth, build successful businesses, help other people do the same thing, and learn while we're doing it. We're still in the beginning phases of this podcast thing. Like we're not experts at this, but we're doing it one way or another. We're doing it, and who cares if it doesn't have to be perfect, right? Just start doing the thing. Just start taking the action. Join, if, for example, real estate investing, if you're trying to get into real estate investing, join a community, join a team, um, start learning and by doing, right? Don't consume everything. Don't get on YouTube and just continually watch stuff. Actually start taking action and doing the thing. And if you focus on one thing, well, whether that's real estate investing, creative real estate investing, or, selling the next widget or whatever it is, like if you just focus on that, literally just focus on that, all the other stuff that you're trying to learn, that you want to learn, you'll eventually learn. But if you try and do everything at once, you're not going to get anywhere. Um, so I'll leave it at that. I appreciate anybody who, the one or two people that watched the show today. I appreciate you, and come back for more. Again, this is January 11th. This is our third episode. I haven't even gotten the other two episodes up yet, onto YouTube. So,
You shouldn't say that. It might be up there by the time somebody
well, it
sees
might be, no, by the time you're watching it, it'll be up there. But like,
it.
you got to realize, like, as I'm recording this, like, as we're recording this, it's like, this is what it looks like. Just so you guys understand, that's what this podcast is about. It's about the raw, like, new business startup, people who are trying to figure this business thing out. Like, this is what it looks like. You just start doing it, and who gives a shit about if it's, perfect or not, right?
I
So,
agree.
yeah. So thank you guys. Thank you, Pansy. I appreciate you as always. And
Appreciate you.
yeah, we'll see you on the next one.